Juniper was the first to notice the hum. It happened near twilight, when the city's neon was just flexing its fluorescence and the air above the overpass still smelled of hot tar. Juniper, Marco, Tala, and Pidge were skating the rust-red guardrail of the I-9 bypass, a rail older than all of them, kinked in places where cars had kissed it in anger. They called it the Dragon Spine. It was the kind of spot you couldn't session in daylight because Crawley security drones circled whenever the sun was up, filming skate vandalism for the corporation's lawsuit archives. Juniper landed a crooked grind, sparks snapping from the trucks. Except those sparks were green, not orange, a strange pine sap green that hung in the air like fireflies. She kicked out at the end, board sliding across the grit, and the hum vibrated up her calves, through her ribs, into the crown of her skull. "Yo, anybody else feel that?" she asked. Marco slowed to a rolling stop, sleek shadows flickering across his shaved head. "Feel what?" "I'm feeling gravity trying to arrest me." Tala, always the cautious one, just lifted her front foot and spun her board idly. "I heard something," she said. "Sounded like roots under dirt." Pidge, who wore earbuds 24/7, pulled one out. "I saw a glow," they muttered. "Figured it was chem dust from the highway's lights." The group stared at Juniper's deck. The wood grain, normally a warm walnut, was veined with a faint pulsating green. It looked like the veins were breathing. "Maybe we should call it," Tala said. "Or maybe," Juniper countered, "this spot just got magical. One more line." The others shrugged. Why argue with momentum? The four of them climbed the concrete embankment, set their tails on the rail, and dropped in. Boards hit metal, clack, scrap, hiss, and the city's sounds warped as if the freeway's roar got sucked into a vacuum. A curtain of green sparks erupted. The bypass tunnel turned into an endless corridor. Streetlight halos peeled away, showing stars where ceilings should be. The guardrail elongated, branching like a lightning bolt made of chrome. "Guys!" Marco shouted, voice echoing with no walls to bounce from. "We're falling upward?" They were. The boards weren't rolling anymore. They were sliding along a ribbon of silvery bark that spiraled through a black void full of distant constellations. Juniper's eyes watered from wind that smelled of moss after rainstorms. Somewhere overhead, or beneath, it was hard to tell, rustled leaves the size of city blocks. Then, just as abruptly, gravity realigned. Shoes kissed asphalt. The Dragon Spine's normal clang subsided. They were back on the bypass, but 50 meters ahead, right where the rail curved out of sight. Cars still whooshed under them. Nothing had changed, except each skater knew something had. They silently packed up, navigated alleyways to the lot behind Zed's Lumber and Outfitter, the local shop where they'd all bought their decks. Uncle Zed was a leather-faced old-timer who wore goggles even indoors. He'd closed for the night, but the back door was unlocked. The skaters barged in, a bell tinkling overhead. Racks of decks dangled from ceiling beams like colorful bats. Zed was hunched over a workbench, chiseling grooves into raw planks that smelled of wet earth rather than cedar. He didn't look up. "Knew you'd come the night the boards woke," he rasped. Juniper planted hers on the counter. "What did you sell us, old man?" "Not sold, gifted, charged only enough for payroll taxes." Zed set aside his chisel. "Those planks are not timber from your world." Pidge scoffed. "Yeah? They from Mars Redwood or something?" Zed pulled a bottle of sap, emerald and glowing, from under the bench. "They're branches from the Axis Mundi, the World Tree, Yggdrasil, Jabbar Seed. Many names, one thing. I was keeper of a limb that fell through a rift years ago. Carved you each a ride." Juniper felt laughter wanting to erupt, but the memory of green sparks stopped it. "Okay, suppose I believe that. Why give them to random skate rats?" "Not random," Zed said. "Skateboarding's the only art that understands rails are paths, not barriers. A practitioner with enough balance can traverse the tree's cambium highways, surf its sap flows, slip between realms." Marco leaned, arms crossed. "You made us dimension hoppers without consent. That's messed up." Zed removed his goggles, revealing eyes that gleamed chlorophyll. "Consent is moot now. Corporations smelled the sap the moment your boards touched that rail. Spirit hunters will come. They want the tree's power to privatize reality. You'll need your skills to stay ahead. Spirit hunters, Tala repeated. Define. The rough men, Zed whispered. Ex-brand strategists, turned sorcerers in boardrooms. Their employer, Augury Unlimited, built spectral extraction rigs. They track sap resonance, shackle travelers, squeeze their boards until only dry husks remain. Pidge cracked their knuckles. So we bail? Go off-grid? Trees everywhere, Zed said. Off-grid doesn't exist, but you can learn to dance along its branches invisible to algorithms. I can teach you the first step. He flipped a switch. The workshop's back wall rotated, revealing a half-pipe carved from petrified wood. The coping shimmered with runes. Sprouting from the ramp's spine were tiny living leaves. The sapling, Zed murmured with reverence, a fractal of the original. For the next 3 nights they practiced. Grinding that half-pipe felt like rolling over cello strings. With each carve, the boards absorbed resonance. They grew lighter, yet sturdier, like bamboo forged in zero-G. When they launched in air, the ramp would stretch, granting them impossible hang time. Zed taught them root sighting, relaxing eyeballs until maximum peripheral awareness bloomed. In that mode, every ledge, curb, and railing in the city glowed mint green, footpaths of the tree. The world was a spiderweb of possibilities. On the 4th night, drones descended, Crawley security by day, Augury Unlimited after dark. Corp gray copters hovered over Zed's shop, spotlights sweeping. Laser monograms of the Augury logo, an eye inside a Mobius strip, danced across the alley. Juniper yanked the roll-up door open. We need split paths. Zed nodded. Ride the sap highway under the viaduct, then peel into the Ghost District. There's a hidden trunk gate at the old Starlight Mall. I'll mislead them. Pidge hesitated. You'll get nabbed. Caretaker is dispensable, Zed said. Branches, skaters, are the future. He shoved a leather satchel into Tala's hands. You'll know when to open this. Sirens shrieked. The team launched from the half-pipe, ollied through the bay door, and locked into the curb outside. Sparks became green fountains. The asphalt blurred into ropey bark. They dipped beneath the city, shredding down the ribbed interior of a gargantuan root. All around them glowed spores, tiny orbs that whispered comedic insults in forgotten languages. I think the tree's talking smack, Marco yelled. Concentrate, Tala called back. Left split coming. The route bifurcated. They banked, coasted upward through a fissure that spat them onto the cracked plaza of Starlight Mall, a shopping complex abandoned after the streaming wars made physical stores extinct. The directory signs still listed shops: Fountain Pen, Paradise, Necktie, Nebula, Food Courtatia. From the parking deck emerged hunters, men and women in tailored graphite suits, eyes concealed by glass visors projecting investor graphs. In their hands, hook-tipped poles of brassy metal that chittered like typewriters. Targets acquired, one droned. Boards register Yggdrasil's signature 88B, initiate collar sequence. Marco shoved off, accelerating toward the fountain remains. Hunters jabbed their hooks. Spectral wires hissed, snaring empty air as skaters ducked. Pidge wall-rode a cracked pillar, half-cabbed over a hook, then threw a middle finger in midair. Tala did what Tala did best: observe. She saw the hunters were slow on resets. She also saw a stainless steel bench arcing beside the Sears entrance, glowing the color of sea kelp. She called, "Bench is a branch! Follow!" Juniper reached it first, crooked grinded along the bench's spine. The metal dissolved into bark, and suddenly they were coasting up the side of a gigantic trunk wreathed in mall signage from hundreds of timelines. Blockbuster, Interstellar Pets, R Us, Uncle Goblin's Pretzel Emporium. Wind roared past. Hunters at ground level became ants. High above, the trunk ended at a knot door pulsing silver. Juniper landed with the others on a bough broad as a city rooftop. Gate? She asked. Tala opened Zed's satchel. Inside lay a seed larger than a baseball, carved with skate tool sockets, and a folded map etched on birch bark. Map read, "Plant where greed echoes loudest." Pidge scanned the ghostly mall atrium below. Food court still has a lot of coin fountains that never got emptied. Marco shook his head. Greed started here, but echoes loudest at Augury HQ downtown. That tower sucks rent from half the city. Then we take a field trip, Juniper decided. Planted in their heart. How? Tala asked. Juniper looked at the bow. It stretched toward the skyline, tapering to a thin branch that merged into smog banks around the Augury skyscraper. We ride. They tightened trucks, set bearings whirring. The bow was curved like a roller coaster, banked, corkscrewed, then plummeted. Clouds parted to reveal the luminous city grid. They dropped, gravity sideways, wheels humming on bark that glowed runway bright. Pidge whooped. Marco did a method air over a gap as wide as a freeway. Tala kept the satchel clutched. The branch pierced the Augury tower at the 70th floor. It fused with a window ledge, converting glass into translucent cellulose. They burst through like seeds through snow. Inside was a trading floor for intangibles, spirit futures, dream derivatives, nostalgia swaps. Bankers typed at invisible screens, suits wired to chairs by golden umbilicals of data. No alarms sounded. Augury's sensors hadn't cataloged skateboards as infiltration vectors. The crew manual kick-pushed across polished marble. Every column, lamp, coffee kiosk shimmered root green. Latent wood waiting to wake. "Plant the seed," Juniper said. Tala vaulted onto a receptionist desk, jammed the seed into a chrome vase. Sap leaked instantly. The seedling's roots punched through faux granite, chugging greed like fertile compost. Leaves unfurled, each reflecting boardroom charts inverted red. Alarms erupted at last. Ceiling panels slid open. The rough men descended on levitating discs whose rims spun like buzzsaws. Each brandished a brass hook, tethered to vacuum flasks for sap extraction. Pidge skated a loop around them, distracting. Marco switch flipped over a desk, snapping cables. Tala hung back to chant the rooting mantra Zed taught. 3 beats of board tail slaps, followed by a whistle descending minor third. Juniper confronted the lead hunter, a skeletal woman with a face like stapled parchment. Her name badge, Executive Vice President, Zibble Crow. "Return the limb," Crow hissed. Juniper tapped her deck's nose. "Come get it." Crow's disc lunged. She swung her hook, which extended into a ribbon of molten brass, lashing for Juniper's ankle. Juniper ollied, board clacking, then landed on the ribbon, locked into a perfect 50-50 grind along its length. The ribbon spasmed, but centuries of sap cunning coursed through her trucks. She rode it toward Crow, popped an impossible nollie, and planted both feet square on Crow's shoulders. The EVP toppled, disc crashing. But 2 hunters snagged Marco's board midair. Their hooks dripped white frost, sucking sap. Marco fell, shoulder-crunching tile. Green veins in his deck dulled to brown. "Marco!" Tala cried. Juniper zipped, tried to intercept, but 5 hunters cornered her. That's when the seed sprouted full tree. From the vase erupted a trunk that grew stories tall in seconds, splitting the ceiling, shattering windows. Branches whipped hunters aside. One limb scooped Marco's drained board, pressed it to fresh bark, and flooded it with new sap. The trucks glimmered again. Tala felt something else, too. Her board vibrated like a purring lion. The new tree's presence had opened a thoroughfare, a macro route yawning in the floor, a spiral ramp leading down into the underworld of commerce itself. "Downhill escape," she pointed. Skaters regrouped, Marco clutching bruised ribs but grinning. They bombed the spiral, boards ripping across brass inlays that turned to living wood as they passed. Hunters pursued, but the tree's fibers knotted behind, tangling them. The ramp spat the crew into the sub-basement, rows of coffin-sized pods, employees asleep while minds worked in dream factories. Juniper's heart contracted. They even exploit REM cycles. Pidge skated past, palm-brushing pods. Not today. Each contact seeded fungal runes that bloomed into dreamcatcher webs, freeing sleepers from contracts. Crawford security doors loomed ahead, reinforced steel. Marco, battered but inspired, muttered, "Need a rail." He flicked his board upward, tail hitting the ground. The steel door rippled into bark, forming a rail. He locked into a smith grind. The door melted open. Beyond lay an undercity river of storm runoff. Moonlight streaked through grates. The river's concrete banks were overgrown with world tree moss, courtesy of the seed's magic. Before the skaters could drop in, Crow reappeared on an aerial disc, cloak shredded, visor cracked. She held a harpoon-sized hook glowing with antimatter runes. "End of line," she croaked. Then Uncle Zed materialized beside her, suspended on nothing, eyes ablaze chlorophyll. He'd escaped, or maybe never been caught. "Line's only beginning," he said. He closed one goggled eye, whistled. His own deck, gnarled and ancient, glided beneath his feet. Zed cut across Crow, board tail striking her disc. It lurched, circuits sparking. "Ride, children!" he barked. The crew didn't hesitate. They rocketed down the riverbank and into water that wasn't water anymore. The surface thickened into translucent root tissue, supporting their wheels. They were literally skating a river of living glass, currents audible like distant applause. Crow tried to follow, disc spitting sparks, but the water rejected her, turning viscous, immobilizing. She screamed as tendrils wrapped her wrists, dragging her into a pod-shaped graft on the bank. Just another resource for the tree to recycle. Juniper glanced back once, shivered, then pumped legs faster. The root river curved toward open night. They burst through a culvert onto an elevated aqueduct. Arcs of city lights reflected on sap, slick. Sirens far behind cut off abruptly. Drones short-circuited by chlorophyll interference. Sky above, radiant with an aurora of neon and leaf glow. The skaters cruised side by side, boards humming contentedly. Zed joined at the rear, gliding with ageless grace. "The city's reclaimed by the tree," he said. "But stewardship never ends. Augury will regrow under a new name. Hunters learn new tricks." Juniper looked at her friends. Pidge, whose cheeks were flushed excitement. Marco, bruised but fiery. Tala, steady as a metronome. "We'll be ready," she said. "Rails are paths, remember? We keep moving." They reached a section where the aqueduct split into dozens of thinner tributaries, luminous vines connecting rooftops, billboards, satellites. Each direction, a story waiting. "Pick a line," Zed offered. Marco pointed toward industrial smokestacks on the horizon. "Factories need greening." Pidge gestured at a dark mountain beyond city edges. "I bet there's rails of starlight up there." Tala smiled, turned the birch bark map over. New ink unspooled itself, routes branching like veins. "Every line exists already," she said. "Boards just choose when we see them." Juniper laughed. "Then let's follow the boards." They pushed off. Wheels kissed living vine. Sparks of sap flickered behind them, like fireflies charting a legend no corporation would ever own. Somewhere ahead, in the folds between dimensions, unseen rails awaited. Shimmering, humming, ready to resonate beneath the balance of riders who understood that freedom, like roots, grows anywhere it damn well pleases.